let's get started. So first of all, I'm Jono. I'm head of marketing here at Learning People. You may have heard that we are recording this session just for the record, and we'll be able to send a recording back after this session as well if you do have to drop off at any time. We're going to be doing the session until 7 o'clock, so we've got a really good solid 60 minutes, and we've got a great mix of current project management students on this session, along with people who are just thinking about enrolling with us as well. So a very warm welcome to you all. Now, we hope you're going to take lots away from this session. We'll learn firsthand from two project management professionals who have switched from different industries and built careers in the industry. And we've broken it down into three sections to discuss areas like interviewing, CVs. We'll look at how project management is evolving, and also the transferable skills that you'll likely already have and that make you the perfect project manager as well. So we'll be discussing this with our two experts. So Lisa is our first project manager who's going to be talking with us today. Lisa is she works at the Cybersecurity Council. She has over 5 years experience within project and program management. And with that, we should say we're delighted to share that Learning People's Security Plus course syllabus has now been fully mapped to the Cybersecurity Council skills framework to the associate level. And this is a project that Lisa has specifically been working on. So very warm welcome to you, Lisa. Thank you for being here. How's that for an introduction? Do you want to add anything else?
I think that pretty much added everything in. So hi everyone, my name's Lisa. As Jono said, I'm the project manager at the UK Cybersecurity Council. It's a professional body for cybersecurity professionals. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of share more with you all throughout the webinar about my journey into project management.
Great, thanks, Lisa. I'm also joined by Lizzie as well, who Lizzie was a Learning People graduate student, and she landed her first job at BAE Systems as a project controller, working in the aerospace industry and actually transitioning from education. And I last met Lizzie at an event, I think it was back in April now, when Lizzie was just offered the role. So really excited to find out how the first 6 months in the role has been. So welcome to you, Lizzie.
Thank you. It's nice to be invited back to speak to an event like this. But hi, yes, I'm Lizzie, graduate from the Learning People, and also, as Jono said, I am a teacher previously, and I have managed to transition into project control within one of my dream companies.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's really, really great to have you with us. So we'll discuss more about what that role entails as the session goes on. We want to make this session really interactive as well. So we've got a Q&A, so please just send in your questions from now, and we'll do our best to work through those during the session. But we're going to do a poll now. So the question that we're going to ask first is, where are you in your project management career journey? And then you've got the four options there. So whilst everybody marks their answers, I'm just going to talk about some of the demand in project management, which is global. The demand in project management is huge, and it continues to grow, with the number of professionals growing by 190,000 in the UK from 2019 to 2024. Many businesses are struggling not just to hire, but to find candidates with the right skills mix. Really important, with the right skills mix. And as a result, salaries have increased 10% from 2023 as well. So the current average salary in the UK is 52,500. And of course, salaries do increase with experience and certifications too. Also seeing a huge demand across Australia with the upcoming Olympic Games in Brisbane in 2032. And to add to this, project roles are quite widespread. They're increasingly important across many sectors, not just in construction and infrastructure, but predominantly in tech and business and healthcare, those kind of industries. So we will discuss with Lisa and Lizzie what success looks like for a project manager. But it increasingly depends on modern skills like digital literacy, managing hybrid teams, and being agile enough to adapt to new frameworks. The simple traditional project management skills alone may not be enough. And as a result of that, we at Learning People now offer AI and soft skills training. So students are also developing the human and technical capabilities that employers are looking for, which is super important. So we go back to our poll results. I'm hoping they just pop up. Let me just look in the Q&A where we come from. I'll come back to them because I can't see anything in the results yet. So it might just be another minute or so until we have those results in. So as you said, these sessions were broken down into three different sections. And the first one, we're going to talk about breaking in, deciding to change career and getting our first interviews. So Lizzie, we start with the first question with you. So the first question is, how did you decide to move from teaching into project management? And when did you think it would be a good fit for your career?
So I qualified as a teacher, primary school teacher in 2022, and I actually left the country. So I went and taught out in Kuwait in the Middle East for 2 years, and I moved back last year. And teaching over there is completely different to teaching here. And therefore, when I got that reintroduction to schools over here, I kind of very quickly came to the realization that it wasn't what I could sustainably do for myself over here. It was a profession where I was unfortunately burning out very quickly. I didn't really have any form of work-life balance, and that was important to me, especially after being away for 2 years. I did want to see family and friends on weekends and evenings and not feel like I was just stuck. So I shopped around. I did a lot of Googling of what would be transferable skills in different areas of work, and project management kept coming up. So the deeper I looked into project management, the more I realized actually my skill set, especially from education, has really set me up nicely to be able to get into project management. So I spoke to a lovely gentleman called Sam from the Learning People, who taught me through the course, told me that yes, my skills that I did have were in fact transferable. And I think I spent almost an hour on the phone with him asking every question that came to the forefront of my mind. And he really kind of supported me. He didn't rush me into making a decision, although I did very quickly say yes, I'm interested. And from that, I've obviously been able to successfully get a job within what's project control rather than project delivery. But I'm thoroughly enjoying my role at the moment. So
And
very easy transition.
which is fantastic to hear, and it's great to hear that Sam's did a great job, and I know you speak very highly of our career services team as well. Is there any side of you that misses teaching?
Yes, there is. I'll always miss having just a class of young minds to inspire and help grow. It is the actual physical teaching and nurturing that I do miss out of teaching, but within projects, you've got the opportunity to work your way through a career where you can then lead a team. So in that sense, as I progress in my career within projects, I could still have that opportunity to be able to lead and inspire. So there's a balance of that there for me, which again was another reason that I was more interested in coming over onto this side. But yeah, part of me does still miss it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the role then, in terms of what you do on a day-to-day basis? So you've been with BA Systems for just about 6 months.
So I wish it's actually been about 8 weeks. So I
Oh, is it
actually
8 weeks?
started,
Oh, this was so I
yeah.
saw you six months ago, right?
Yeah, so when you saw me, I'd literally got the job offer on the train to come to London for the event. I was over the moon, and I can't speak highly enough of my career service advisor, Sophie, who helped me prep everything and gave me that confidence to even go for the job. So that was fantastic in itself. But I officially started at the very beginning of September, so I am coming up to 2 months in, and I could not be happier. I have a great work-life balance. I am actually still studying through my job role. I go to university once a week, so I'm actually getting a foundation level degree whilst doing this. And they completely support me in everything. So my role is looking at the data of a project. So are we on time? Are we going to be not so very much hitting our milestones? Are we under, over budget? And basically dealing with the facts, presenting them with a way of overcoming them. So that's my role in controls, is controlling the direction of the project in terms of time and cost. So yes, so it's been fun exploring that so far.
Was it quite challenging, or did you feel that, I mean, if say 8 weeks in, you're already controlling budgets and things like that? which you would think you maybe need to be in a role for a lot longer before you do control that kind of stuff. Did you feel like you were ready and you had the right training behind you?
So the analytic side kind of scared me as much as being a teacher is obviously looking at the stats of the kids and being able to transfer that into readable facts for other people. It was quite daunting. It was very much more kind of like, here is your numbers, how are you going to interpret it? But I'm very lucky in the sense that I do have training weekly throughout my week, learning the different aspects, the different platforms in which my company chooses to use before being stationed thoroughly in my role. So I get a good few even months of training before I actually am deployed, where I can learn all the basics to then apply that into my specialist area once I get in role, which will probably be post Christmas, about January. So I'm very lucky in the sense that I do have a formal training period before actually being placed specifically into the business. But we are obviously able to explore a lot, and we've learned a lot in this past 8 weeks. So
it's really great to see how excited you are about the new role as well. For me, obviously that's what it's all about, working in marketing here at Learning People. What certifications did you study?
So I studied Agile Foundation, the Project Management Fundamentals, and Change Management. So I am still currently in the process of finishing up my change management, but I have my other certifications. I would say in terms of landing me the job, the understanding of the project management fundamentals was the most important. It showed obviously that I was interested in the role itself, but also that I had some understanding of what I would be doing in the theory behind it before actually starting the role. So I'd say that was probably my most important certification.
And then just going back to say the time that you're studying at Learning People, how did you fit your study time in?
So obviously life can get quite overwhelming, but I did try to make sure that at least once a week I sat and did either revision so that I could go over something that I didn't quite fully understand. And there's a lot of other resources online as well beside the Learning People, just kind of reiterate and solidify that learning as well. And obviously we do, as you further progress through the course I did, we did get textbooks as well. So being able to go back and read through like the handbooks and such really then helped, especially within this role. I have actually used the Agile handbook for a couple of things, right, with uni and actually being in the role, and just to kind of refresh myself. But I found that just making dedicated time a week, even if it's a couple of hours or an evening one night, just to kind of do a couple of the videos on the ILX profile, like the platform, even just doing an hour is enough to get you through, and then obviously finding time to revise before the exam. So it is doable. I think the key is not putting pressure on yourself and building it into your weekly timetable so that you do have that time. And like I said, I was doing an hour a week some days because work got a bit too much and it was all I could do, but I was still able to pass my exams.
Well, it's great to hear, and it shows just stick with it, keep going with it, and you can say that the results have been fantastic for you, which it really is great to see. Just before bringing in Lisa, we'll go back to the poll. So we asked, where are you in your project management career journey? 18% of us are right at the start with no experience. 48% and the majority are studying for a certification. 28% are looking for their first role, and 6% are looking for their next role and they want to expand on their experience. So we do have a lot of students with us on this session, which is fantastic. So I really hope that you gain some valuable insights today. We're going to do another poll shortly, but let's ask Lisa some similar questions. Do you want to tell us about your journey into project management?
Yeah, so I graduated university back in 2019. I'd actually done history and politics at university. But since doing history and politics, I sort of went into my first role straight out of university was working in widening participation. So that was supporting college age students into kind of understanding more about the legal sector and how they could join in the legal sector. So a lot of my career so far has been focused on getting people to understand their careers, and that's a lot what I do right now, as well as understanding how people can get into cybersecurity. But I'd say this first role is where I developed most of my project management skills, or developed an interest in project management. So in this role, I was like very much responsible for engaging with legal professionals and getting them to kind of work with us to organize networking sessions, career advice days, CV workshops. I also had some budget responsibility. It wasn't that I was like the budget sign off, it was just that I had to make sure, well, I actually created an Excel spreadsheet to make sure that we were in line with our budget that was given to us as part of the program. So that was a lot of kind of development there using Excel, and also making sure that we had that budget. Since being an intern at the university, I worked at the University of Manchester for 2 years. And then I went on to kind of work in the charity sector. I organised, I was a programme coordinator for a charity where I organised tutoring sessions for different pupils. I think I managed around 50 volunteers and 150 pupils. And that's where I really developed those skills of things can go wrong when you've got 50, like 20 students in a classroom. They've all got their headphones on, but their internet's not working, and having to work calm under pressure and engaging with the teachers as well. So that's a lot of the time where, again, I developed more project manager skills. And then I'd say from that, it was very going into my current company where I work at the UK Cybersecurity Council, I was able to utilize those previous skills and say, I'm a good program officer, I'll be a good program officer for this role. And from that, I was able to kind of progress and be promoted into a project manager. I'd say that in order to get to that position, I've kind of gone and said, I'm going to do things that are outside of my comfort zone, which looking back, I'm more comfortable doing them now. So yeah, that's kind of my progression from being a history and politics graduate into becoming a project manager today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Lisa. So in terms of, say, when you were managing lots of people, you must have learned kind of what some of the key traits and attitudes that people need to become a project manager as well. Can you share some examples of that?
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of it to do with your people skills. So being able to communicate clearly. So if you're working with different people that might need information in different ways, you need to understand that so that you can relay that information back to them. I'd also say as well, actively listening to people and being able to pinpoint what it is that they might need. So I'll give the example of when I was working with the 50 volunteers. 50 different people are all very different. They're not all the same. So it's tailoring that communication so you can understand, or they can understand, what you're trying to say, and making sure that they've got the right training, the right resources in order to be better or be better tutors essentially for those pupils. And then when you're talking with the pupils, which I had 150 to kind of manage as well, there was the understanding that you've got from year 5 all the way to year 11. They're very different communication styles. A year 5 student's going to need much more hand holding, and that's, I know they're kind of kids and you want to nurture them and make sure that they've got that development in them, so they're doing their tutoring, but you need to also make sure that they understand how to log into their tutoring session, and also the tutor knows how to communicate with them. So there was a lot of movement between that in that project coordinator role, where I was doing a lot of tailoring my communication skills as well, just so that everyone knew exactly what it was that they needed to do in order to be successful. The aim of the project, I guess, essentially, is that the pupils are tutored at the end of the day, so they had those academic attainments for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously people bring their own challenges, and there's a lot of people that you've worked with there, so I can imagine some of the challenges. So when you kind of transition from doing your degree, moving into project management, do you feel now, with what five years experience, this is the career for you? Are you happy in the industry?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like from the transferable skills I've learned from that history and politics, I'm able to utilize those skills that I've learned there. So when it's looking at report writing skills, or whether it's looking at how I can, politics is very interesting because I think there's politics in loads of workplaces. So you need to understand how you communicate. Some things that I speak about at work might, especially within cybersecurity, is kind of, you need to sign NDAs, you need to have that communication. But I do think it is definitely the kind of role that I'd look for in the future, and the role I'd continue to develop in. I'm really thoroughly enjoying project management. I enjoy working with kind of senior professionals as well. So I work with a lot of CEOs of organizations, work with quite a lot of government departments, and I get that exposure to senior professionals. And it makes, I think, the project management skills and the problem solving skills and the critical thinking skills are something that I really, really enjoy doing. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy being a project manager, and I love when challenges arise. I love coming up with solutions, and I love seeing those come through and seeing how I can work with other people in order to get the project from the start right to the end of it.
Has there been, I'm sure there has, or any significant, really stressful moments and challenging moments where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Never to the point where it's like I don't want to do it anymore. I think sometimes when having challenging conversations, it's understanding why an organization might feel that way. So when I'm dealing with organizations, and again, I'll be very vague just of the nature of the work that I do, but when dealing with organizations, they all have different business models that they might be working towards. So it's not necessarily an attack on the processes I do. And that can be difficult to have conversations with organizations, but it's not an attack on the processes I do. It's not an attack on myself. Sometimes when I was earlier on in my career, I used to take it as an attack on myself, but it's definitely just different organizations have different business models and are working with different strategic outputs that you might not even be aware of, but it's understanding that it's not this, there might be other existing external factors that are not being mentioned in meetings. Again, I'll bring it back to politics as well, where there might be some things that aren't said, but you have to kind of pick up on that. And that's where your communication, where you're actively listening. So someone might say something, but that's not necessarily what they might mean. And it's how you work through those conversations, but also building that rapport and making sure that we're all sort of on the same page and we all know what our actions are going forward to kind of continue the project. But yeah, never thought I'd wanted to quit. I quite like the challenge of that, and I think it makes it fun.
Yeah, well, it sounded the way that you explain it as well. It sounds super exciting, and yeah, to turn a challenge into something fun is probably exactly what we want from a role. Thanks for everyone who's sending in their questions. We've got Rachel, Director of Education, who's answering those that she can at the moment. But we've got a question for Lizzie from Sylvester. Says, hi Lizzie, what were the main challenges in your first job as a project manager, having come from a teaching profession? So obviously this is 8 weeks into a new role, but have you had any significant challenges?
I would say there's not been any significant challenges as of yet. However, that's not to say that there definitely won't be any. I would say the main challenge was actually kind of taking that step into it and having the confidence to be able to say, okay, I am going to completely 180 and change my career again, after obviously training up for 5 years and teaching all in all. So that step into project management, I would say, is that first challenge really. And then possibly the analytics side is going to be the most challenging bit for me. However, I will say that having the skills such as managing a schedule for myself and 30 children, having to be on top of everything, and those organizational skills and leading other people has already helped me in this job role so far, because I'm able to organize myself and take charge of what I need to actively do the role that I've been employed to do.
Great, that's a fab answer. Let's do, I love the interactiveness of it. Let's do another poll and then we'll move on to the next section. So Robin is going to share, here we go. Thank you, Robin. We'll share this poll. So what's the biggest blocker right now to entering project management or another new industry? So what's the biggest blocker in progressing in your project management career? And then we'll give you a few minutes to answer that. And then it just appeared on my screen before the results. So we'll wait for those to appear after the next section. So let's take a look now at moving on into CVs and interviewing. And Lizzie, we'll stay with you. The first question is, which you have touched on this, but how did you update your CV to apply for PM roles from teaching and then optimize it for employers?
So I leaned very heavily on Sophie, who's my careers advisor, and she was one of the best assets that I've found in general when updating my CV. I When it came to it, we had a really interesting conversation about what should be first in your CV, and almost you'd obviously kind of start with your name, your address, your email address and your contact information at the top, and then you have your kind of like general summary about yourself and your experience. And then I used to go straight into education and job history. And Sophie and I had a really interesting conversation, and she said, put your qualifications and what you're studying and what you've achieved first. And I thought, okay, never would have thought to have done that on my own. But actually, it is that eye-catching point on your CV where people can go, okay, she is qualified in the relevant things that we need her to be qualified in, or she's studying towards that. So with my CV before getting my role within BAE, I did say currently studying for estimated to have it by the end of this year, for example. And that was commented on within my interview. They did actually say that it was one of the nicest CVs that they'd seen in a while. So I was very pleasantly surprised by that. But yeah, she basically said, take out your education bit, just kind of put in your degree. If they ask, just put in about you having a minimum of 5 GCSEs, including maths, English, and science, as that is what most people look for. You don't have to list them all off. It can just be a general summary, as well as any relevant A levels to that role. But your main points come from the qualifications and relevant certifications that you have for that job, and then your career history, highlighting those specific skills, hard and soft skills that you would need to go into the role. So people skills, time management skills, working collaboratively with others, even having a section to say what skills you do possess, hard and soft. So what can you do technology wise? How competent are you? How confident are you in Microsoft Word and such? And then obviously what skills you've gained through your previous working experience. But those are the main, I would say, things to highlight within your CV that help me anyway.
And then with the actually obviously sending your CV out and getting interviews, were there a lot of responses? And then can you tell us a little bit how the initial interview went at BAE?
Yeah, so I was very hesitant at first to actually send my CV out and apply, because I didn't know if I would actually get any responses. So again, Sophie was great. She said, okay, send me the jobs through that you think that you can apply for, and then we'll literally have that conversation of, yes, you've got those skills to apply for that, or no, you haven't. Maybe we'll try and get you in at a lower level entry role, so project office, basically being part of that in the administration and such, or looking at roles that transpired within that as well. So I did get a couple of interviews before BAE. A lot of them were for like virtual teams, as that is kind of a direction that a lot of project management companies are going within. They will hire people from other countries just to ensure that they've got the relevant skill set that they need. So I had quite a few virtual interviews, but ultimately the one job I wanted, I was very, very lucky and I got, and it was a long process. I applied and then I got a phone call, which was a screening phone call, where they went through what skills I had, and I had to answer a set of questions to basically get through to the next stage to be considered for an in-person interview. So they asked me how and what skills would be transferable into a project manager or project controller role, what would make me a good candidate, and such. And obviously had that conversation, and then I waited 3 weeks to hear back. So that in itself was a challenge, waiting by the phone every day just to hear if I'd obviously gone through to the next stage or not. And then I did get invited for an interview. Now BAE and a couple of other companies that I do know of do send out questions or a problem to solve before going into the interview. So to prepare yourself, this ensures that when in conversation, they can see your thought process as to how you would approach solving a specific project. Mine for project control, for example, they gave me a bus route and a timetable and a set of friends, and I had to get them all to the cinema at the same time, going off of the list of assumptions of certain people finishing rugby training at 4 o'clock and won't be back until this time. And I had to basically think, okay, how am I going to get all of this group to the cinema on time, as cheap as possible, and then back again? So I literally wrote down everything on the piece of paper that I printed off, and I took that in with me. That was also one thing that they were looking out for, the fact that I actually took the piece of paper with me and they could see my thought process down on paper, as well as me then verbalizing it within the interview. Then the interview process was, okay, here is your CV, talk me through it. So I spoke through my CV. We spoke specifically about the skills that were then transferable. And then they asked me to go into further detail against a certain set of questions that they'd obviously collated that would be relevant to my role. In that interview as well, they did actually ask me another project control question, where I have since spoken to them about that question. And it was, okay, you've got £500 for a community event. You need to order this food, but the food's coming out at £700. How would you deal with that? And what they were looking for was problem solving in the way of, okay, how are we going to make it cheaper? How are we going to make it more, how in general, is it going to affect the quality of the food? So you're looking at what's called the iron triangle within project management. So time, cost and quality within its scope. So they had set questions that, again, from obviously the fundamentals exam actually helped me out, because I knew some keywords and I kind of understood it a bit more. So having that certification then helped me within the interview. But yeah, then after that, I waited 2 weeks and I got offered the job.
And again, massive congratulations. So how long did they give you to answer the questions and the tasks? Did you go away and then think about it?
So I got an email with the first one where I did it at home about 2 weeks before. So I actually did it twice. I kind of answered it first, went away for a week, came back to it and thought, actually, is there a better way I could do this? And then tweaked some of my answers. But the other one, they gave me a chance to think. They also handed me a pen and was like, okay, if you want to write anything down on the piece of paper that you brought in for the other question on the back, feel free to do that. Jot some ideas down. They gave me about 5-10 minutes to kind of think through. And then I came up with my answers for that question.
Did they show you what everyone was going to see at the cinema?
No, that was an assumption that wasn't made. So I probably could have made that myself, really. They left it up for discussion. So that was good. But yeah.
But it just shows so great resilience, and that you just have to keep going. So yeah, it's really great to see. And then Lisa, do you want to kind of tell us about your experience? You've had a promotion from project officer to project manager. What kind of terms did you put on your CV? How did you go about that process?
So in the 2 years before I was promoted to project manager at the UK Cybersecurity Council, I said yes basically to loads of opportunities. I actually did look back at my annual reviews just to make sure that I knew exactly what I wanted to say today, to make it so that I progressed myself. So I said yes to plenty of opportunities. I focused mostly on my people skills because I knew that that was the outward facing bit of my role where I was less confident in. But I basically said yes to opportunities. So one of these, I'll give an example, is I was at an event and I was supposed to just be sat. My manager was supposed to be doing the roundtable talk. I was just supposed to be sat down quietly making notes. I was program officer at the time, and my manager was ill. So I was like, oh, I'm the only person in this room that knows how to talk about the program of work that we're doing. In the room was, again, CEOs of organizations. We've got government department heads, we've got industry experts. And I was very new into the career, and I just said yes to that opportunity to kind of talk about talk about our program of work. And it was scary at first, but it really developed those kind of communication skills that when looking back at my career, I kind of desperately needed to be able to communicate confidently to a group of people. So I noted down some other key skills as well. So leading conversations with external stakeholders, building that rapport, and also developing my people problem solving skills. That was something I didn't have before. I'd kind of go to managers with problems and not really have solutions for them. So instead of doing it that way, I've now gone into it going, I'm going to come up with solutions. I'm going to risk analysis all of the solutions that probably would be for these and see which is best for the problem. I also continue to develop skills that I already have. So ones that I think I'm particularly good at, such as time management and organizational skills, I continue to develop them. Even though I felt like I was good at them, I still think it's important to look at the things that you might be good at and say, oh, how can I kind of develop them further? Is there anything that I can utilize to make it easier for myself to develop those skills as well? So those are some of the things I kind of write down in my annual reviews. So yeah, basically just saying yes to opportunities in ways that I can develop. I do the same thing with my team now. So if they are wanting to go from program officer into senior program officer, I say yes to those opportunities that come up, because those are the only ways that you can really kind of develop and show that you are capable of doing the things for those roles.
And then you mentioned their time management, which people might think, oh, it's easy, just make sure you're on time. But when someone says you need to be a good time manager, what does that actually mean?
So it's looking at how you can complete any projects. So understanding what is the resources involved in those projects. So whether that's looking at how many people are needed in order to complete a certain tasks, how much volunteer, I'm thinking of tasks I currently do, but how much volunteer time do you have? And then building into that maybe some leeway, so you're not kind of working strictly towards those deadlines, so that you've got tight deadlines, but making sure that you have larger deadlines. And it's being, I guess, flexible but adaptable as well within your time management. You can utilize quite a lot of different resources for that. So for a lot of that, I use monday.com. That's kind of our internal system that we use, but that really helps with looking at times and seeing the dependencies between different tasks, or seeing the dependencies between different projects as well. So that's really useful kind of tool that I use in terms of understanding how to utilize that time management skills. And I think organization plays a key part in that, because if you keep up with how your projects look, then you can kind of organize them and understand the time, and then it helps future projects as well.
Is that Monday.com, is that something like as an industry standard? Because there's so many different project management tools to use. Is that kind of your personal preference?
I've used quite a lot of them actually in the different roles that I've had. So I've used monday.com, I've used Asana, I've used Teams as well. Teams now has a project manager tool. They're all different in their own way, and how you can integrate them into different systems as well. So you could potentially integrate them into your like emails and stuff. I'd say monday.com, the project management software side of it, has more it's like more fun sometimes when you tick that you've done something or you completed a task, and the automations are easier to use, I find, in monday.com. I think with Asana, it's easier to kind of, if you've got a whole team of people that you're working on a project, it can be easier to tag people and show where the codependencies are within different projects, and also who is collaborating with you on projects. But yeah, as we're quite a small team, monday.com really works for us at the minute, which is really good. But yeah, I think if you can gamify project management a little bit is how I see it. So it makes it like fun to tick off and complete your to-do lists and stuff.
Do you feel the same, Lizzie, to kind of gamify project management? And then have you got an in-house project management tool?
So we do, but then it also depends on what project that you are on basically within the team. So generally we use what's called PM Compass, and it interlinks with a couple of other tools in which we use for scheduling and such, because it's all made by the same company, so it's just easier to integrate. I think I completely agree with Lisa. Being able to make things like that fun, where it is celebrating being able to tick things off your to-do list, is definitely one way of kind of motivating yourself to get things done. You're putting that reward within yourself to be able to complete it. And that is, in a sense, in essence, basically the job role. You have to complete it. So why not make it into a fun game and kind of motivate yourself that way to complete it? It'd be like cleaning up at home. That's part of a project in a whole, is making sure that your house is presentable for people to come around. So why not kind of obviously gamify that, put some music on and enjoy things while you're doing it. It's the same transferable kind of approach to getting your work done as well. So yeah, I like the thought of gamifying it. Yeah,
I have to put headphones on to do the housework. It really works. It really helps. Yeah.
definitely nothing wrong with having a dance around the house while you're cleaning. It just makes everything more enjoyable.
Exactly. I think there was the Queen album, wasn't there? Was it Break Free?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they danced around with the Hoovers. They started it. Um, yeah. So go back to you, Lisa. So in terms of advice we've got lots of students on this session. Um, what could you say about some of the early career lessons that you wish you'd have known before going into your first role? Is there anything you could say which would help the students?
So, whilst actually we've both been talking, we've Jono and Lizzie both been talking about kind of how you can use project management outside of work. It's kind of brought up things that I've thought about as what I've done outside of work to utilize project management skills. So, I'm currently in the middle of planning a wedding and house renovations, and I've utilized my project management skills to create a Gantt chart on what my responsibilities and my fiance's responsibilities are in both those things. It's been really good. I've kind of created that, and it's been really helpful to see how you can use that within you can use your project management skills and prioritize things as high dependency, or kind of how the different things is. But that's kind of me being nerdy outside of work and trying to create two massive spreadsheets. But what I would say is what I did kind of prepare beforehand, kind of those early career lessons, is it's okay to be nervous. I still get nervous and worked up when speaking about things, but I think the most important thing to do is kind of prepare. And when I go into meetings, I always prepare beforehand. I'll grab a quick half hour before, whether that's I'm going to research a new company that I'm going to be speaking with, or researching the people if you want to get into who you're actually speaking to. I think it's really useful to prepare. That gives you kind of it sets you down so you can have calm nerves. And then it's also, again, you're looking like you're standing out when you come to a meeting with that structure. It shows you're organized, it shows you've taken time to kind of build that rapport with them. And then it comes into practice that if you continue doing that, you're going to be better at it when you kind of go into it. And I'll always say, I tell this to my team as well, take those opportunities. You don't know exactly who you're going to be speaking with, but they could take you to really beautiful places if you're who you're networking with. And there's great examples throughout my career where I've kind of just taken those opportunities, and it's been really good and useful for me with connecting with loads of different people.
The other thing you touched on earlier was Excel, that you use Excel a lot. Is that a recommendation for students or anyone looking to get into project management? Do you use it all the time?
I use it outside of work. So I use Google Sheets outside of work, and then in work I do use Excel and Monday.com. I'd say Excel's a really useful tool. It's got the function, and the Excel formulas are similar to some of the automations you might use if you're using automations, because it's got if and statements in there. So if you can get on top of the Excel formula, then it makes it easier when using automation, because it's still the same statement. So if this happens, then this will happen, and that can make your workload a lot easier. There are other project management tools that you can use, so that are free, and you can utilize them in your own personal life as well. And that's how you can kind of showcase your skills. So if you go into an interview and say, well, I've been using I don't know, Asana to plan my wedding, that seems really good. Or I've been using it to budget track or something. That's a good way, because you're using it in real life and you're utilizing those skills. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a strict 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job where you're sat down and utilizing that, but you can use them. But yeah, I'd say Excel is a good starting point for those formula.
It's I think though that what you said there is really interesting around organising a wedding and project management and that, and then Lizzie and certainly some of the tasks that you were given to organise getting people to a cinema, all these things that we could if you know someone who's getting married, potentially try and get involved with to build up your portfolio is really important. So yeah, some really great takeaways there. Let's go back to the results of the latest poll. So what's your biggest blocker right now to launching or progressing your career in project management? Which is quite an even split actually. So with 23%, which was the highest, it was just knowing where to start. So hopefully from this session, we'll know a bit more about where to start. 16% getting my right CV, 19% preparing for and succeeding in interviews, 19% overcoming a lack of confidence, and then the remaining people were unsure. So this poll was well, we asked that just before we did this session as well. So hopefully people know a bit more about that now. But in terms of, I think that's a really big one, overcoming a lack of confidence. Is there any advice, Lisa, that you can give to people to overcome that confidence?
Just keep going for it. It feels really uncomfortable sometimes to be outside of your comfort zone, but as I say, the more you practice, the more it becomes easier to kind of go in and be like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about. It's okay to be nervous, and that doesn't necessarily translate to you not having the confidence, but just again, prepare, make sure that you know that you might not be good at everything, but you will be good at something. So lead with that, and that will make you confident in the other areas. If there are any areas that you're not sure and you want to develop in, then there are people that you can talk to and kind of go, okay, I want to develop in this. And that can be really useful as well. But I'd say, yeah, just keep practicing. It is hard to kind of go in out of your comfort zone, but I find that that's when you are able to grow and flourish and develop, and it's very clear for others outside to see that as well.
Yeah, and for you, Lizzie, as well, you said at the start, obviously, you did your research but didn't know where to start, and then you spoke to Sam as your career consultant, which really helped. Would you give that advice to other people as well?
100%, yeah. I think the thing is you're your own worst enemy. If you don't take that jump, then you'll just think, what if? And sometimes that is the barrier in itself, is just that confidence just to go, okay, I'm going to research into it, I am going to ask someone. But if you don't take that jump, then sometimes you just get stuck. So I think Lisa's kind of right where she says practice, asking questions is the best thing that you can do, and especially within this industry, the more questions you ask, and the more inquisitive you are, the more likely people are to talk to you, and therefore from that you learn things and you take things on board. And I would say just take that step forward. It might seem daunting and it might seem like it's the scariest thing that you will do in that moment in time, but most likely it will be the results of it will be the best results that you get, and it will be so worth it. It was worth it for me. And obviously Sam was a great help in supporting me by talking to me about the products that learning people could offer, but also instilling that confidence further into me that I can make that change. So again, speak to people, speak to your family. I spoke to my family about it as well, saying, I don't think teaching is what I want to do anymore, but I found this. Do you think I could do it? And they were like, well, yeah, looking at that and looking at you, you've got all of the skills necessary to be able to be great within project management. Go for it. What have you got to lose? So yeah, that first step will be the most scary thing that you do, but the most rewarding once you've actually taken it and gripped it with both hands.
And Susanna's just posted on the chat, which is a really nice response. So thanks, Susanna. So thank you all for advice being given about getting into project management. I'm later in my career change journey after having worked in admin for many years. The webinar has given me so much confidence as I'm realizing that I have many projects I've worked on through my career and in my personal life, which is exactly what we want to hear. So that's great stuff. Right, conscious of the time, so we've only got 10 minutes left, and yeah, this is fantastic. Really engaging. So the final section is we're going to talk about the project management landscape and now and next. How is it evolving? So, well, Lisa, first question for you. So, how do you think project management is changing in general? And maybe if we think about how AI is being implemented to, for automation.
Yeah, so being in the nature of working for the UK cybersecurity, the rise in AI and how it impacts workload is really something that has been talked about, but I'll make it specific to kind of project management. So there are loads of kind of useful AI tools that integrate loads of different tools that already exist out there. So whether that's integrating your emails into your project boards and seeing if you can create reports from that, or even using something that could create daily news into LinkedIn posts is something that I've seen before as well. So that could be something that's there. I'd say there's a lot of automation, and what it is super useful, and it saves a lot of time, and you can kind of see where the whole team is up to in their projects, or where they are in the dashboards as well. Like if you have dashboard, you can see what the whole team is doing. It's also good at kind of detecting if there's any anomalies between data sets. I get quite a lot of data given to me and I have to look over it, but sometimes it's obvious, it's not as obvious to me, but you can quickly scan it through AI and see if there are any kind of anomalies there. I'd say the rise of AI and automation and how it saves time and maybe does some risk analysis and reporting for you, it does save time and it allows me to kind of make data backed decisions a lot quicker. So it's easier to pull numbers from reports and see, okay, well, I can see where, if I talk about our professional titles, I can see where the gap is in terms of we need more kind of practitioners at this level rather than having loads of maybe higher levels, because it should really look like a triangle instead of looking like it kind of looks a bit messy at the minute, but it should look as like a triangle. And then I can develop some strategic kind of decisions and go, okay, well, we need to work on how we implement that as well. With kind of all that being said about AI, I do think there's still that kind of human leadership that we need, because I think it's really important that we still have those people skills. And within cybersecurity, it's known that AI is not always right. If you're using open source intelligence, the internet isn't actually providing all the information that could necessarily be right. AI could give you return answers that were originally meant to be read as sarcastic, because AI can't actually pick that up. So it's always interesting kind of working with that. So I'd always say, make sure you're kind of using that human leadership, human element, and making sure you're reading over those things. But that's kind of some of the ways in which project management is changing. It's making things a lot faster, but you also need to be conscious that not all of it might be right if you're using it to create large amount of work for you. So you should always kind of look over it.
And Lizzie, same question to you really. How do you see that the project management landscape has changed or is going to change?
So there are different life cycles of projects, and different projects choose different life cycles. So for example, building a house, it's usually very linear. It's what we call waterfall. It's usually one step after the other. But then you have construction processes like a plane, for example. Imagine an Airbus. We would call that a hybrid one, because the life cycle regarding the actual software development, so the radar of the plane, the sat nav and things that are in there, compared to the actual construction of the plane, one is linear and one is iterative, because you need to keep developing that software until it's going to be obviously right for that plane. And the only way you can do that is by testing it and bringing out demos to then test it and release it again until your client is happy. But the actual building of that Airbus is going to be so regimented and so linear because it's a construction process. So combining them is what we call hybrid. And I've found that, especially within my sector, hybrid life cycles are kind of what is going forward. And a great point that Lisa made around AI and its upcoming, in terms of everything, obviously I'm in defence, so AI is being used a little bit differently within there, and not just so much in the project management landscape, but AI is everywhere now. You have to keep that human element. A robot can't make human decisions. A robot can't have that empathy and sympathy behind and reasoning behind doing things. So AI is great. You just need to know how to interpret it within your project management landscape. And also from that, depending on kind of what project you're on, will depend on how you're going to utilize AI or not having AI within that specific life cycle of that project. So it is changing. There's lots of things that are evolving. Like I said, approaches towards different life cycles are evolving, but best thing you can do to keep up with that is keep reading online journals. Just keep up to date. If you've got a specific sector, if it's cybersecurity, if it's defence, if it's the NHS and healthcare, keep up to date with the news and online journals about what approaches they are taking. And especially then applying that into interviews, you have gone out of your way to research what they're actually doing and how they're delivering it, which is going to put you in a great position as well, because you've shown that interest and you kind of obviously looked into it yourself. But it is constantly evolving, like most things are in the workplace with technology booming. So yeah.
Can I just ask, do you both work remotely, or is it a hybrid model?
Mine's hybrid at the moment.
So how often do you go into the office, Lizzie?
At the moment, I do one day formally working from home, one day at university, and then I'm in the office 3 days a week.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very hybrid.
Which keeps it exciting. And then, and for you, Lisa?
I work completely remote, and so's the rest of the whole UK cybersecurity team as well. So very different.
And is that something that you like? Because sometimes it's nice to go into the office around people, isn't it?
Yeah, I quite like it. It's nice. You have to build that rapport within your team, but it's quite nice to kind of, I know that after 5, I can just go into the next room and I'm still at home. But yeah, we do quite a lot of events, so I am able to go out and meet people and speak to people. So I'm not at home all the time.
It does show, though, for people looking to get into the industry, though, you're not just working on a construction site, which a lot of people, back in the day might have thought that's what a project manager does. And there is options, to work from home, maybe for childcare reasons, things like that as well. Which I think is a great perk of being a project manager. Really conscious we've only got a few minutes left, so we've got the final question. So we're talking in this section about kind of future-proofing careers. So we'll start with you, Lisa. What would you say gives project managers the best opportunity to future-proof their career?
I'd say looking at your digital skills and building on that knowledge there. So I know we've mentioned a lot about the rise of AI, but that will become something that you need to use. And I know that when looking at interviews and speaking with other project managers that have been conducting interviews, they are looking for people that kind of know how to use AI within their workload. But I'd also say being adaptable to that change is really super important as well. Not just for the challenges with AI, but also being adaptable within your team. And then I'd say focus on those people skills, because they're super important. You could have all the technical knowledge in the world. If you haven't got any kind of people skills to communicate with anyone, that would be really difficult to show how you can show yourself in the best light in an interview. So really working on those people skills, I think, would future-proof careers, because people are essentially what makes project management, I think.
Yeah, great answer. And Lizzie, finally from you.
I agree completely with Lisa. I will add to what she said. Find where you can just continuously develop yourself, whether, again, like we said before, keeping up to date with what's changing in project management and understanding those changes, as well as, for me, Excel has been a massive thing that I wish I'd kind of had more of an understanding of before going into my role. So again, like Lisa said, those technological skills that are going to benefit you in your roles, just being at least confident in how to use the basics of them. A lot of companies will then teach you, but yeah, just understanding the direction of where project management is going, I think, will help you in future-proofing your career within project management.
Thank you, Lizzie. Fantastic. So a couple of takeaways from this session. I really like when we're speaking about gamifying project management, which for me, that sounds super exciting. And the key is to whilst we're breaking into the industry, just to stick with it. Communication is key. People skills are really, really important as well. Obviously, you're going to get setbacks, but just keep going with it. And it's interesting around some of the project management tasks that we may have done in our daily life. We spoke about organising a wedding, organised a stag do years ago. It's a similar thing. I think we got to the final day and we just about run out of money, so nearly did a decent job. But things like that are really important as you take into interviews. And for students that are on this session, remember that you have lifetime access to our career services, which Lizzie has spoken about, using Sophie's expertise as well to optimising CV has been really helpful. So definitely do utilise our career services team. This has been really insightful. Thank you so much for your time. Lizzie, it's great to hear all about the role 8 weeks in, and hopefully we can catch up in another few months to see how you're getting on. And Lisa, thank you for all the work that you've done with the Cybersecurity Council. Yeah, it's super exciting for our partnership with you as well.